Have you heard about this personal and professional podcast?
Coaching in Session with your host,
Michael Rearden.
Arlene, we're going to be just talking about your work as a work-life balance coach today. What got you into this work?
I kind of had a circuitous journey. So I'm an attorney, and one of my friends started a coaching school that was just really amazing. And I decided to go and get a degree with her. And I just felt that at the time I had my own business and that would help with negotiating. I negotiated with a lot of people on the phone and in person. And I also was managing attorneys and employees. And I thought, I can do a better job at that. So coaching felt like it was going to be really help with my communication skills and my ability to just work with all kinds of people. And so that was my initial reason to go into coaching. And then I sort of got burnt out on the practice of law. And I was really enjoying my coaching. And I guess the reason I went into work-life balance is that when I was a young attorney, I started my own business like 3 years out of law school. I immediately became pregnant. I had a son. And if I had had a coach then to help me through that, I think my life would have been totally different. It was really, really hard to juggle. And so I have a lot of empathy and compassion for women that are juggling all those different kinds of things at once. And since it's what I wish I had, when I became a coach, that became my area of expertise because I feel I can really make a difference. And I'm really passionate about it.
Somewhere in life, we try to make meaning where we give ourselves a purpose, right? Some people, they say they want to be doctors. Some people, they want to say they want to be lawyers, police, firefighters, nurses, whatever it be, right? And sometimes people, they go down a path that is not true to them. And maybe so unknowingly. For example, when I was younger, I wanted to be a lawyer. Like I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a lawyer because I wanted to make money. I was thinking in my head, I was focused on the money. I was focused on the things that weren't truly meaningful to me. And then when I started making money, because I was doing business finance and accounting when I got out of high school, I was making good money for my age. And I was like, it's not about the money because the bank account was filling up and I just seemed to be in a worse place mentally. I was like, I'm not happy. Like, this is not for me. And that's when I started to make some changes. And I 100% agree with you. If I had a coach, if I had a mentor when I was young, they would be able to identify what I truly wanted in life. And sometimes we get so busy with the aspect of working that we forget to live. How do you help people find that balance that they're looking for, that harmony that they're trying to create?
Yeah, I guess what I have learned is that I'm a member of the Colorado Women's Bar Association, so I'm in contact with a lot of women attorneys. I no longer practice law, and a lot of them are trying to create balance in their life from the outside in. They'll look at like life hacks and mom hacks and, doing all sorts of things that can organize your life and make things easier. But the way that I help people is starting from the inside out. And that's what you were talking about. It's you changed your profession and what you were doing because how you're really feeling about your life and your work, and it just wasn't clicking. And so what I find is that when we start with the inside out and we feel different on the inside, then a lot of the stresses on the outside begin to fall away. Because I don't know about you, but if I'm in a really relaxed state, I can do something pretty easily. If I'm all stressed out and my blood pressure's on the moon and I can hardly breathe, because when we're stressed, we just breathe in that shallow top part of our lungs, I can't do hardly anything. So my biggest joy is to help women get to that place on the inside. And it can be like breath work and working with gratitude. It can be working with all sorts of things, that mindfulness stuff that really helps you settle in and be more happy with your life, more satisfied with it. And also it's just like about not giving ourselves away as women. We tend to want to take care of everybody else but ourselves. We're sort of taught that. And so helping them with those kind of situations as well.
I do want to get into the breathwork conversation because I believe it's important, not just for women, but for everyone. Because
Correct.
Many individuals, especially in our world today, we take those shallow breaths, as you were saying. It's like, we don't take the deep breaths anymore. Maybe it's because we are afraid of the pollution or whatever it be, or we're just not taught it. Where we can take that deep breath, we can feel our diaphragm expanding, and we can feel good. We're filling up our lungs with some good air, hopefully. And many people, they just are living on that surface level, right? Conversations are just a surface level band-aid approach type of mentality, and we even do that with our health and our fitness. And
Yeah.
people don't really truly understand the benefit of taking a deep breath and giving our body the oxygen that is almost deprived of. Like we're depriving ourselves from good oxygen because we need it, but yet it's like, well, we're just going to take just enough. Like we're just going to do just enough every single day. And that just enough, it leaves us desiring for so much more. How can
Yeah.
we start to pay attention to that breath, to that life that we are just leaving, by the wayside each and every day because we're not doing the things that are beneficial for us?
Well, the cool thing about breath work is we all have to breathe to live. So it doesn't have to be necessarily a separate time that we set out for ourselves. So we can just really start out simply by just making an agreement with ourselves. When I have a spot where I could practice breath work, and I can share like a really simple one with you. Maybe I'm standing in line at the grocery store. I'm on the phone and someone's talking and talking and talking. I practice my breath work. Or I'm getting up in the morning and I'm getting ready and I'm making my breakfast. I can practice my breath work. And what we want to do is breathe in such a way that we're taking our body out of fight or flight into rest and relax mode. And the simplest one that I can share with my clients is you breathe in through the nose, you breathe out through the nose, and the out breath is longer than the in breath. You can just start with something really, really simple like that, because when our out breath is longer than our in breath, we're physiologically telling our bodies it's okay to relax. It's okay to let go. And a step up from that, once we practice that for a while, and of course, practice makes permanent, so we have to find ways to practice these things, is to breathe into like our heart chakra, our heart energy center. Maybe just breathe in some gratitude and then just breathe out anything that's not working for us, with that in breath and that out breath. And I guess what people need to know is there's no magic fairy dust solution. It's like if you want to be an athlete, you want to be a runner, you have to practice. You have to go out and run. If you want to be calm and relaxed as you're going about your day, you just have to practice breathing. And it's just, sometimes I have them put, like an alarm on their cell phone or something, but it's just a learned behavior. And once we start to do it, it just becomes really natural. And the one that I've given you is like, who can't do that, I don't know if that makes any sense to you.
No, it makes 100%. Plus, I don't know, hundreds of interviews of people who focus on different modalities of coaching. And breath work seems to be the foundation for many of these modalities because it's so powerful. Many people, they bypass the things that are so beneficial for them. For example, walking. I know people think like they have to go to the gym. Well, the best workout you're going to do is the workout you're going to do. So walking is the easiest thing that you can do, that anyone can do. And it could just be walking to the end of your driveway today, then maybe walking to the corner of your street, or walking to your mailbox. If you don't have a mailbox outside your house, you walk to the area where you have your mail. So like there's different things that you can do, but yet many people, they don't see the benefit of them just taking a bit more initiative in the things that they do. And then they wonder why their work and their life is kind of all mismatched, just because they're focused on one more heavily. And I know so many people struggle with this because they will put a huge focus on their career, especially early on in their life. Maybe one of the reasons could be because I'm young, or maybe another reason could be because I was told to do this. So whether you were told to do this or that you're young and you think you can sacrifice, many people find themselves in that window where they'll work themselves to death. And then, maybe in their late 30s, maybe in their 40s, they say, you know what, I can't keep doing this. And there's no wonder why so many young minds, or, young individuals today, are seeking retirement early. And I'm thinking in my head, like, I don't want to retire, because like, what would you do if you retire? But there's people who think that work ends, and like, okay, I'm going to work and work and work, and then I'm going to end, and then my life is going to be balanced because I spent, the first part of my life working, and then the second part of my life living happy. Do you think that's an appropriate way to look at how we should approach work in living life?
Well, it's funny. We're totally on the same page with everything that you've said, and I actually lived it because even when my son was little, I was a runner back then, and I would go into the gym and I'd have a group of friends that I'd run with. Now I have a daily yoga practice, and sometimes I live in Colorado, so I go hiking in the mountains and stuff. I feel that you've got to start somewhere and keep going. I got into it like when I was a freshman in college, and some people encouraged me, and I just, oh my gosh, it was just, life felt so different. Just being able to take care of yourself like that, it's a total game changer. And you're so right. Walking's excellent for your liver. And even if you just walk around the block and breathe some fresh air, you're going to feel a lot better than if you don't do anything at all. And people just need to make time for things because we get these voices in our head. I call it our inner critic. And it's just like they tell us all the reasons why we can't do something. And we're the parent. We're the inner coach as the soul, as the spirit. And we just have to say, no, stop it. I'm going to take this time. It's not a big deal. Like you said, you can go outside and walk around the block to begin with. But yeah, we are coming from the same mindset. Exactly.
How do we get into the idea of taking more action when maybe we feel lethargic, maybe we feel intimidated, scared, for example, like hiking? It might not seem like a big deal, but because I know because I'm a hiker. But for someone who has never went hiking, I remember I had a former girlfriend. This was in college, and she was a nurse, and I was just making my way through to be a teacher. And she went hiking with me for the first time, and she thought a bear was going to come out and eat her. And I'm like, I was like, where we're going, it's like in the middle of the city. It's just like a little state park. I was like, this very unlikely that there'll be bears there. Maybe a raccoon or a skunk you might see, but that's like in the evening time. And I even when I went, the only thing I saw that might have been dangerous was a snake. And that was one time out of the hundreds of times that I've been there. But she was so worried because she gave this perception in her head that hiking could be dangerous, that something's going to come get me because we live in a modern world, and guess what? We have our nice, safe homes, and we can stay safe inside, and we can control our thermostat so we can be 100% comfortable. But the moment we put ourselves out there to maybe some unforeseeable circumstances, we give ourselves all of these things in our imagination, and it can truly stop us from living. Do you find that people will that it could be their inner critic, but do you find that they self-sabotage themselves?
Yeah, there is a lot of that out there. And, it takes time to work with people to be able to, first of all, be aware of how they're doing it to themselves. Because lots of times, if I look back on my youth and how I talk to myself and how I talk to other people about myself and my life, I just want to put my hand to my head and go, oh my gosh, because I didn't even hear how I was coming across. But I just got back from Australia, and I had some friends that were terrified for me that I was going to be bitten, because they have snakes and spiders there that are poisonous. I have never run into them all the times I've been there, but people get it in their heads, you're right, and then they're unwilling to change. So you can work with people. I try to work with coachable people, but there are people out there that just have their beliefs, and there's nothing you can do. I guess the only thing that I could recommend in that situation, a friend of mine years ago, we went to Juneau, Alaska, and we went hiking, and we knew there were bears up there. They're black bears, and all you have to do is ring a bell. The bell rings, the bears go away. They just want to feed on berries. They don't want anything to do with us. So sometimes just doing some research on the internet, really common sense stuff, can help people. But if people are totally fixed in their ways and unwilling to change and unwilling to listen, we can't really, knock our heads against a brick wall and change them. And obviously you're not with this woman anymore. So I don't know. We can't wave a magic wand for everybody, but we can help people to become aware and maybe come to a different conclusion on their own.
No, very true. When you were speaking, I thought about all the different things, because I live in Texas and we have venomous snakes and stuff. And today we saw a garter snake. I was on the rose bush outside. So I was out with my kid, and we were just kind of, looking at some of the plants that we have out in the front. And I was like, oh, look, a snake. And my wife was like, oh, we got to kill it. I'm like, no, let's leave it. This is a garter snake. It kills little bugs and stuff. This is a good snake. Right. But then we give ourselves this perception that all snakes are bad, or that all bugs are bad. And just because we build a house, in their habitat, it doesn't mean that everything around us is magically and, so and instantly bad. But yet we will say that, right? So, like people sometimes forget to live. And I'm going to use Tony Robbins, and you don't have to like the guy, but Tony Robbins, he talked about a story with his wife early on when they had met. And I believe the wife is some type of nurse. And he was all about, I got to make sure I'm doing the right thing. I got to eat healthy. I got to go work out. He was a hiker also. So this is why I'm kind of bringing it up. And then the wife or the girlfriend at the time, ate healthy and everything like that. And then I guess one time they went out and they got some ice cream. And then like Tony was like, what are we doing? We're not supposed to be eating ice cream. We know better. We know better. And then she said simple words, come on, Tony, live a little bit. And we forget to live a little bit or live a lot, where we are so focused on, again, like how we talked about work, we maybe are focused on our own issues. We kind of forego family. Technology is taking up a huge portion of our day. And we wonder why we don't have time in our day to make a little bit of life or to make a lot of life, right? You can view it in any way you want. We all have 24 hours in our day, but not everyone utilizes the 24 hours effectively and efficiently. How can someone start to utilize their day to be more in line to get them to the dreams and to the goals and to the aspects that they envision for themselves in the future?
Well, I think sometimes we just have to look at our lives and stop doing the things that aren't working. I mean, like scrolling on social media is addictive. You say you're going to be on for 5 minutes, an hour and a half later has gone by. And sometimes we have to just say no to certain things, say no to the behaviors that are holding us back. And if you're working with a coach or you're just working with a group of friends, it is nice to work in groups and have groups of people, because we can move together more quickly as a group than just as a lone wolf. But just start things, just try things. And the way I sort of explain it to people when I'm mentoring them, it's like we've gotten a certain place and we're standing on top of a cliff. And it looks like if we take the next step off, we're going to fall into a deep abyss. But if we just try one thing and take one small step forward, it's like spirit gets behind us. And, okay, how does that feel? And from that step, we can take another step and another. We don't have to have a plan. We can just take one step and see how it feels if we're still breathing. If that feels good, we continue in the direction. Maybe we modify it a little bit. But that makes it really simple. We don't have to know the whole story. We don't have to have a 1 year, 5 year, 10-year plan. That's usually doesn't work out anyway. If we just have an idea of how we want to be different and have an idea and take one small step forward, and then acknowledge ourselves and celebrate those successes, and don't be someone that, finds everything wrong with what we did, and turn that around, stop doing that inner critic and start, doing things to celebrate and acknowledge ourselves. So it does take, it's not like there's any magic fairy dust, like I said before, to make things happen. But those kind of small things of stepping forward, if we do that for a year, we're going to be a completely different person. And I find that really exciting, because I've done that. And you go look back at the end, from the first of the year to the end of the year, and like, wow, I don't even know who I was back then, So I feel that way is doable.
What do you say to people who are afraid to go into the wrong direction when they are taking that first step or that leap of faith, right? So they don't want to make a mistake. Many people don't want to make mistakes. I know, for me, when I look back at all of the career choices that I have made, and, today we do coaching, but if I started coaching back when I was 20, I wouldn't be ready. Number one, I wouldn't have all the world experiences and all the things that help build me up to the person that I am. And some people, they belittle that aspect of their journey. They say, you know what, if I was 18 and I started my business then, or if I started doing this instead of what I was doing, but they don't realize that made them who they are today.
Yeah.
How can we start to focus that the journey that we start on might not be the journey that we are ending up on, because it might not be our true journey?
Right. But the journey that you took to get to where you are, and me too, there's so much value in that, because it adds a richness and a flavor that other people might not have, for you that's a podcaster, and for me that's a coach. I think there's a fundamental misalignment in society about how people look at mistakes. Because all we have to really do is tweak that, because mistakes are opportunities to learn and grow. So if we view and any great inventor, the Wright brothers or Thomas Edison, or people that really, they made more mistakes and had more failures than we probably have ever even tried. So if we start to realign the mistakes as being something horrible and to feel bad about ourselves, oh my gosh, it's an opportunity to learn and grow. What can I learn from this mistake? That's number one. And number two is, if we have that part of ourselves that's afraid inside, I view myself like the soul and spirit. I'm the adult. It's my job to take care of those human kids inside of me that somehow got injured or damaged or hurt, or I pushed them away because I didn't like their behavior. So it's my job to go in there and love them and say, it's not your job to go and do this. It's my job as a spirit and soul to take this step forward. It's your job just to sort of surrender and let go and come with me along for the ride. But I am there to love you and protect you. And I am so sorry. I'm so sorry that I ignored you and pushed you away. Because there's usually some younger bit of us inside that is afraid for some reason of how they were treated or something that happened in the process. So those are two things that I would recommend.
Would you say that there's a perfect life that people should be going toward, or is it something that is going to be something that each person has to self-identify what they truly want?
There's no perfect when we're in bodies in this earth. And I think if we expect perfect, we're just setting ourselves up for failure. Sometimes it's more of a straight line. Times it's a circuitous journey. And I think that it's important to feel into our hearts and have alignments of goals of what we're moving towards. But in any moment, there are like a whole bunch of different possible futures based upon what we choose, what other people choose in our lives, what is happening in society. I think we can really it's kind of like a mind mess up if we just focus that way. It feels much too linear. I think if we want to be more expansive, and obviously you got to where you were from having a hard experience, you thought, oh, something needs to change here. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but that's kind of my approach that I like to help guide people with, because I find, and I'll put my hand up for this early in this life, I was such a total head case as an attorney. It's like, oh my God. But the more we listen to our hearts and make decisions from there and really listen and not just try to blah, blah, blah our way through it, the more we're just going to find that we're enjoying the journey, whatever it is. And if we take a little detour, hey, there's something valuable there. Because I get most of the things that we learn in life and experience, sometimes a lot of it's just negative learning. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. We'll have some positive. Oh, that's good. I'll take that one. So I know I sort of walked around. I hope I answered your question there. I'm not sure.
Listen, it doesn't matter if you answer my question, because this is what I love, like doing the podcast, because I can have the same coach on with, like the same work-life balance coaching, right? And I can get a whole different conversation, because the questions I ask are not truly like direct questions. Like, you need to talk about the perfect life. Like, these are very vague questions that are going to be more your perspective. And the reason I do this is because not every person is going to be someone's cup of tea. For example, I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I can be a bit spicy sometimes. So when I'm working with people, I'm going to be blunt, right? But maybe you need someone who has a more softer approach. It's not me, all right? I taught swimming for many years, and the kids were like 2.5 all the way to 18 years old. And of course, some kids, they needed certain types of instructors, and certain ones needed more strict instructors. And so I got all the kids that needed strict instructors. It wasn't like a pun at me saying, hey, you need to be softer. You need to be more kind and loving to them. This is kind of like your personality. So then everyone has a different personality that they would gravitate toward. And I find that, like, in coaching, especially because I believe coaching is going to be the new way of education come, as the world progresses, because coaching is more of small groups. Think of micro schooling. We have individual sessions. That's going to be looking at what the individual needs, rather than these huge class sizes from 25 to 30 in elementary all the way to college, where you can have 200-300 people in a seminar. Like, how much attention are you getting? Because at that point, you're just another fish in the pond, and you feel that too. You might not think like, hey, I'm doing this to get a degree, but at the same time, am I being seen? And at some point, when you're all done with everything, because you have gone through the process of college, getting a degree, maybe it's because your parents told you, school told you, whatever it be. Now you're searching for meaning. You're like, do I really want to do this? And we can look at the statistics of how many people who go to college, get a degree, and they don't do what they went to school for because they did something that they were told to do or that they thought they should do because they look at maybe society or they look at their peer group or their parents tell them like, hey, like this is what you should be doing. But then at some point in life, they say, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to look at what I truly want. And it's that
Yeah.
heart to heart conversation you have with yourself. And then you're like, I need someone to help me. And that's why, like, I love having coaches come on because you help people get to their true life, their true way of living. And that is so important.
Yeah, it is. Because, as coaches, I believe, and I'm sure you do too, that my client has all the answers inside of them.
Mhm.
People are much more likely to follow through if it comes out of their own mouth and they have their own aha moment, and this is how they want to move forward. If I, say, looking at their whole life, you should do this and this and this. I wouldn't like that. That doesn't feel like someone really gets me and understands me. And we've had that kind of coaching conversation that's really helpful. So, I agree with you 100%. And
Mhm.
sometimes it is a circuitous journey. I don't know if I did the right thing, but I was very insistent that my son get a college education. And
Mhm.
he did his college education a lot in theater and stuff like that, and sort of went scrape through. But it turns out that he's really good at coaching. And so he's coaching and he's running coaching camps and he's, before and after school coaching and working with kids in elementary school. And his acting comes in all the time, so it's kind of funny how, and he wasn't all that thrilled about going to uni, but it's funny how that basic education that I wanted to get for him as his mother, I don't know if I did the right thing, but that he did it, actually comes through somewhere along the way as a service to you. I don't know. In that case, it did, but I'm not sure about how colleges are right now with how much money it is. I don't know why I'm talking about that, but I just felt to
Mhm.
throw that in.
No,
I
it's
don't know.
so important. It's so important because you're not alone. There's so many people, and I know people are going to be reaching out to you. They're going to say, I'm going through that same thing right now. And they are probably struggling with themselves or fighting with themselves, saying, like, should I send my kids to college and things along those lines because of the cost, perhaps, or because they might not want to do it because a lot of younger generations or people in the younger generation, they like to be influencers. So they're like TikTokers and YouTubers and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with having a career like that. But you have to ask yourself, do you want to do that? Because just because everyone else is doing it, maybe it's quick money. Do you want to do that? I know like there's always a new trend, Amazon drop shipping, or like you go to garage sales and you buy some stuff from a garage sale and you flip it on eBay. I mean, hey, if you love doing it, great. But do you truly love your work? And that's where I want to go right now with this next question. How can someone find out if they truly love their work, right? Because, as you already went through multiple careers, you're a lawyer, you might have loved it in the beginning, but then you realize that maybe coaching was like more of a love for you than being a lawyer. Being a teacher, I loved it every single day. I loved it. But then I also loved the freedom of being able to do my own thing, creating my own type of programs and helping individuals on a more singular level versus like, okay, class, I have to make this lesson plan and I only have to reach 80% of you. What about the other 20%? Right? They need help too. And so like that was, something I was like, we need to focus on not only the 80%, but the 100%. So now I can work with anyone who wants to work, because not everyone's going to want coaching or to change, but the people who do, I can help facilitate that. Versus I'm like, well, I can't change it because the curriculum's telling me otherwise. And I mean, there's even
Yeah.
some schools that have full scripts that teachers have to read every single day. Literally, they walk in and they're reading from a book, word for word, and there's no deviation from it. Because if that was the case, they'll probably, get reprimanded and maybe even lose their job because those schools are college prep schools. It's a money system. If we can go deeper into why they do it, I would rather get these kids indoctrinated. Yeah, I use the word loosely, to go to the school system, go to college, and then come out, and then they don't know what they want. So we do have to look at the aspect of being positive and helping them, truly
Yeah.
find out what they want in life versus like, let's get them through life. And it's so important that we can give people direction, but then we can give them assurance later on when they're trying to find meaning.
Yeah, and I don't think we necessarily have to know when we're young what we're going to do with the rest of our life. I don't think you
Mhm.
can necessarily know. Sometimes it's just, you can find out what the person is, that they love to do. And maybe they want to do some more of that. I have had some friends that are studying to be in like a naturopathic doctor, and they've had a couple of other things they did before that, and they just finally got to that place. But sometimes we have to go a little bit of circuitous journey, take some different courses, with some different things, give ourselves a chance. I don't think it's necessary just to know where we're going to go. I think I'm coming back to the same place again about following your heart. And I think
Hmm.
it's really heartbreaking what they're doing to colleges now and to the educational system, and that's why people are doing more homeschooling, because you can get out in
Mhm.
nature and do things that you can learn things that really matter, and have that heart opening experience, and plus practical stuff as well. So yeah, I don't have any like snap judgment things or snap ways to tell you do this, you work with me, you'll know what you want to do, you'll be set. Sometimes it's just like, hey, I just feel like going and trying this. Well, go try it.
Mhm.
And maybe for some kids, it's good to go into the Peace Corps, or travel for a year or something, or go someplace where I don't know, they're doing some work somewhere for a year that'll open up some doors, and they just need a breather. I think every person is unique. And as coaches, we do approach people like that. We don't have a preconceived idea about where they're going to get in their time with us, and we're open to what they want to explore. And I guess that's where we begin. What's important to you, and what do you want to explore? And where would you like to be by the end of like our session today? One small step at a time.
How long would you say it takes to change a person that wants to change in their life?
You know the answer to that question?
I
I,
I
I,
I have some ideas, and I mean I can
okay.
go first if you want.
What do you feel? I mean, I guess what I feel is that it really depends on the person. If you get someone that's really motivated, and they set the goals that they're going to do for themselves between coaching sessions, and they really follow through, and they don't come up with excuses, they're probably going to be moving forward a lot more quickly than the person that says they're going to do something, nods and smiles in all the right places, and comes back the next session and talks about the same thing over and over again. But sometimes people actually need to talk things out over and over again until they get sick of it and they're ready to move forward, and something actually clicks inside of them, like the penny drops. And so I would have no idea for each person. I think it really depends on the person, how aware they are, and what kind of baggage they're carrying along with them. If someone has a lot of patterns and programs that aren't working for them, and that's what they're bringing to the conversation with me over and over again, maybe they just need to work with that, because no one has ever given them time just to listen to them and have them come to their own, new knowing. So
Mhm.
that would be my take on it. What's yours?
So it's funny when I have to answer my own questions because there's so many paths that you can go down. And let's look at the path of 100 hours, right? So we have 100 hours in our changing, our development. If we split up those 100 hours by 365, will be about 18 minutes a day. If you spend 18 minutes a day on something that you're trying to go toward, right? Maybe better health, maybe a career, some aspect of your life for personal growth, you will be better than 95% of the world.
Yeah.
Just 18 minutes a day. So if you wanted to change, you only had to invest 18 to 20 minutes of your time. And if you don't do it, do you truly want it now? Because it doesn't seem like a lot, right? If I say that you had to give me 4 hours of your day for personal development, now you're going to be giving me some feedback. But can you not give me 18 minutes? And the answer is everyone has 18 minutes, but not everyone is willing to give the 18 minutes. So if you're not willing to give the 18 minutes, it's going to take you a lot longer to get to where you need to be. But if you are a person that says, I can commit to the 18 minutes, you're going to be a person that's going to get to where you want to be a lot sooner. So we look at the aspect. It could take 30 days all the way up to 18 months. Where are you on that scale? It depends on how much are you willing to put in. There could be some sacrifice there, perhaps. But then at some level, you have to figure out if you truly desire something, are you going to give every bit of action toward it? Because everyone has an idea, right? Think of it as an invention. You might have a great idea for an invention. You're like, I'm going to make this invention, right? And you just think about it in your mind. You're like, this is a great invention. And then all of a sudden you don't take action, but then 6 months later you see it on the store shelf. You're like, that was my invention. You didn't take action. The things you think about are great, right? Like they can make you money, they can give you a good life, they can change the world. But if you don't give yourself action to go with your thinking and your thoughts, they're just going to stay there. So it depends on the person and their action for how long it's going to take you to change your life. If you're a person that can commit to it and you don't have a long history of procrastination and of being sedate and stationary and stagnant, you probably going to be a go-getter. But if you are a person that is, like I just named all those things and you said, that was me, that was me, that was me, you have a lot more work to do. So you're going to expect a lot more coaching, or you're going to expect a lot more work that needs to be done on yourself. But it comes down to, are you willing to commit? And one of my last questions to ask you is,
can I just throw something in there?
Yeah, of course.
Really quick. Because I think you're absolutely 100% right. But as coaches, we can help the client. We can ask them questions to pull things together so they know what they're going to do with that 18 minutes, if that's the time frame. What are you learning about yourself? What are you learning about your situation? What exactly are you committing to do between the time now and the next time we meet? What do you need to keep yourself accountable? What kind of resources or other things might you need to keep yourself going in that direction? So as coaches, I think it's incumbent upon us to assist them to really shore it all up so they have a really clear idea. Okay, I have 18 minutes. I have a really good idea of how I'm going to use that. And so they don't get off the phone call with us and go, oh, what do I do with those 18 minutes? I forgot, I just wanted to throw that in.
Yeah, no, it's definitely about accountability. We look at belief then, right? Because let's say you have a client. You can believe in them as much as you want, 100%. Like I have 100% belief that you can. But if they don't believe in themselves, now we have a different situation too, because if we look at the 18 minutes, we know it's doable, right? You and me, we know it's doable. We know our clients can do it. But if they believe they can't, then that is a different perspective. And it could take longer for them to instill that belief within themselves. So, there is different nuances that everyone's going to have a different path, a different journey, right? Some people are going to be a breeze. I already said I taught swimming. Certain kids, my longest kid that learned like I had to teach how to swim was about 18 months, believe it or not. It was over a year.
Whoa.
And and it was so funny because the mom was like doing everything she could to try to get her son to swim, but the boy had a fear of water. She couldn't even wash his hair because he would flip out. Like if you put him in the bathtub and you try to wash his hair, he would lose it. And I remember the day when we flipped the switch, where he was on the side of the pool and he went underwater because he missed my arm. And I picked him up and I go, high five. And I just gave him a high five, and the switch was done. He was diving in, he was swimming, he was his obstacle. But then I have another 2.5, 3-year-old come in. I teach him in a day, or I teach him in 2 or 3 weeks. What's the difference? Sometimes it's ourselves. So we have to, understand that we can be the obstacle. And that is my question to you. Like, we are trying to make some changes. Most people who are listening to the podcast, they want to change their life. They want to enhance themselves. They might have an aspect of waiting for Superman, waiting for some luck to come their way, waiting for an inheritance, or God forbid, a car accident, and they get $1 million or something for the accident. How can we be the superhero in our life? How can we be the person who saves ourselves today? It could be reaching out to you. It could be a book. It could be instilling a certain type of wisdom or knowledge base within us that is going to help us be more of the proponent that is the key player in the game that is going to be life that we win at.
Yeah. Well, I guess if you can't do it on your own, because the bottom line is that when we love and accept ourselves where we are at, warts and all, and we're willing to take at least small steps to move forward, if we can't do that by ourselves, I do think that coaching and mentoring, are an excellent choice. I mean, I guess we both had experiences where we've done it on our own, and we just took one step forward. Maybe we fell down a bunch of times and picked ourselves up again, no matter how many times we quote failed. Some people can do it, some people can't. But I don't have any like magic wand or course. But I would say that it would be either coaching or having a support group. If you come together with a group of like-minded souls that want to accomplish the same things, you're doing it together. You have a support thing. And it makes it a whole lot easier because you don't feel like you're all alone in the world. So I guess those would be the two things that I would suggest. And I do feel like I do work with groups. I love working with groups because I feel like we're better together. And when we have each other's energy, it's just not one person alone. We can bounce off of each other and really rally and support each other. And it does make a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. I wholeheartedly agree with that statement because it's so important that we find people, whether it be a group, a coach, a mentor, whoever it be, to help assist us, right? We find the people that are going to be our inner circle, because we can have blind spots left and right, behind us, everywhere, and we don't see them because we are just kind of, in that chamber, in that silo. And when you give yourself an outside proponent, someone who's also looking at your success and seeing your growth, that's beneficial. And, I would love for you to tell the audience where they can find you, the best source, to follow you on social media, all of that.
Great. Well, thank you. I guess the way I would go to, I can't even talk now because I'm so excited to share stuff. You can go to my website, Jewel Consultancy, JEWEL Consultancy, CONSULTY. And I'm there. I'm also on LinkedIn under Arlene Cohen Miller. So those are the two places. I guess I'm on Instagram too. It's more, the stuff I post on social media is more stuff about how you can improve yourself in your life. And I'm not really selling myself. So there's a bunch of stuff, on Instagram. That would be the place to go if you just want some support and help. It's Arlene Cohen Miller. I'm in Niwot, Colorado, right near Boulder. And my phone is 720-936-2634. Happy to talk to you. Happy to help. And if I can't help you, I'm happy to direct you to a place or space that, could be suitable for you.
Perfect. And I'll make it easy. All this stuff is going to be in the description box below. I know people.
Great, thank you.
I know people are worried about spelling, or they're driving. They're like, oh my God, I have to pull over before I get in an accident, because I don't know if people know. Texting and driving is actually worse than drinking and driving. Now, I mean, drinking and driving is real bad, but texting and driving is also bad. So do me a favor. If you are driving, just check out the description box after you get to your destination safely. Learn more about what Arlene is doing, and then inquire about how you can begin to get that work-life balance that you might be vying for in your life right now. I want to thank you, Arlene, for coming on. We had a great conversation today.
And thank you, Michael.